So here we have the 2023 KTM 500 EXC-F 6 days version. Getting a lot of stuff done on this bike. Kind of disappointed in the way it comes from the factory. Not gonna lie, you'd think that if you spent this kind of money on a brand new bike, that you wouldn't have to do anything to it at all to make it run perfect, and that is not the case at all. Not what I found out either. A lot of things I found have been untorqued. Like for instance, the front spoke's supposed to be torqued to like 52.8 foot-pounds. I torqued them down to 52 foot-pounds, but they came at like 30. Some of them were like 20. So that's something that, that's a rideability issue. Easy to break a spoke, especially if you're doing hard enduro trail lighting like we plan to do with this one. If you guys hear the noise, it's hailing outside. But anyhow, so that was kind of a disappointment to see that. Some of the other things that I was like disappointed is the headlight. I've already replaced it, and this one also sucks. I don't recommend this. I also do not recommend the stock headlight. I think it's absolutely worthless. It does about 0 in the night. I think you almost have to get something like Moto Minded has, which is also like a mini fortune to spend. So it's kind of crazy, but I think I'm going to go with the Moto Minded XL80. Found a deal on one. Some guy didn't use it. Radiator guards that came with it are plastic. We upgraded to the nice CNC. These are like a cheapo set. Got these straight from China, actually. Way better than the stock ones. Still not that great. You can see down here, I really probably should lower these just a little bit so I have better coverage there, but it doesn't cover this at all, and I've seen a lot of guys bash their radiators in here. There's no exhaust, I guess, something to like support it, support it from dings and dents. So that kind of sucks. That's not a huge deal. I'm going to get a P3 carbon one, just to kind of make it look nice. I did replace the brake lever. That was by choice. You definitely don't have to do that. I replaced this little guy just with a 13 millimeter bolt. Don't have to do that either. That's not mandatory. It's kind of nice to have, knowing that it's secure versus that little dipstick. I guess it's not even a dipstick versus the plastic one that it comes with. So this is just going to be way more secure. That also has an O-ring in it, so it's probably not going to fall out on the trail. I guess what else am I disappointed in? Let's talk about the rear light. So I got a box of stuff. So this thing is absolutely, hang on, I'm going to grab it. This thing is ridiculous. It's absolutely massive. Looks atrocious on the back of the bike. And if you do any sort of trail riding, you're going to snap this thing in half. So I took it off before I did any trail riding. Did about, 70 miles on the bike so far. And so, yeah. And then this is the tidy tail that Takamoto sells. I'm a fan. I'm not really sure how it's going to hold up yet. It looks way better. I hate the bolts that they use. They use some really tiny, I don't even know, maybe like an M2 or an M3. Maybe it's an M4. I don't know. Really small metric bolt. That's kind of terrible. They also used... this is like an ABS plastic. This is 3D printed, by the way. I really am not a huge fan of that. I think they could have used like a piece of aluminum or something. Would have made it way more stout, probably less flexible. So maybe they did the right thing. I don't know. Here's all of my 6 days plastics. I took them all off the bike. I did ride it a little bit, like I said, 60, 70 miles. It was all street for the most part, maybe like a little around the backyard and whatnot, nothing crazy. So there's all the plastics. I bought all new plastics. Not a huge fan of the colors. I like some of the other 6 day model colors a lot better, but this one just, I don't know, wasn't for me. And so I figured instead of me destroying plastics that I don't really love, I'm going to get plastics that I feel comfortable destroying. So that way, if I do ever want to sell the bike, I have these, can throw it back on there, keep all the stock stuff for the next owner maybe. Don't plan to sell it, but if I ever do. There is a seat concept seat right here. This is the low mounted one. Really nice stitching, nice carbon fiber look. I mean, it looks beautiful. I really needed the low mounted because I am a short guy, and this thing is tall. I mean, if you've never ridden a KTM before in stock height, it is very, very tall. I think 38 or so inches from the factory after it sags down. And the only thing that you can really do to change that is do a spring job and a fork job and get all that stuff kind of sorted out, if you would. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet or not. I wanted to try the lowering seat. So this seat lowers at about 20 millimeters in inches. For you guys that don't know, is a little less than an inch. It's about 3/4 of an inch. So every 25 millimeters is 1 inch, and so this is 20 millimeters lower than the stock 6 Days seat. So we'll see if that works for me or not. In supermoto form, it seemed to be really good. I could put both toes on the ground. I have like a 30-inch inseam. Well, I guess it's probably more like 28 to 30-inch inseam, somewhere in that era. I'm about 5 foot 6 inches on a good day. So with riding boots, it might be a little different story, but with the supermoto rims that I have, very easy to get on and off. And then I ended up buying the nice CNC peg, which is actually, this is a nice product actually. It's the same exact, at least it seems to be the same exact foot peg, and then you just have this nice CNC thing down here. So that's cool. I guess I'm a fan of that. I like the stock one, but I ended up cutting the stock one down so that way I can go back and forth between the supermoto setup and the dirt tires. I'm primarily going to use this as a dirt bike, but when I want to ride on the street, I really don't want to ruin these tires, and I already have these rims, so I might as well use them, right? I do know that, so these are Warp 9 rims. This is a 5-inch rear, and this is a 160/60/17. The chain rubs like crazy. I'm going to have to get a new rear tire. This one, let's see here. I can't remember the size. Oh, it's got to be somewhere. Oh, where is it at? 120/70 R17. So that one rubbed. They come with like this little plastic, I don't know, shrouding here to protect the forks, of course. I'm going to end up replacing it because mine burned like a hole in it because of that front tire. So I'm going to end up getting new front tires. Like I said, this is the 120/70. I'm probably going to go with a 110 in the front. Maybe even 100 in the front. That, I don't think it would be a problem to do 100 in the front. And then in the rear, I'm definitely going to go down 10 mil. I might go down 20 mil. Again, that was a 160. So probably go to 150. Might end up going to a 140. Just because I don't want the chain to rub. Also, it's terrible to take on and off. So if you're taking these things on and off, it's just a pain. Especially with a big tire. So if you're going to do that, get a smaller tire. Don't let the chain rub. That's terrible for your bike. Terrible for your chain. You're just going to replace parts faster, and that's not what you want to do. Things I've heard about these bikes is that they overheat on the trail. That's obviously not a good thing, especially if you're doing hard enduro or trail riding. One of the things that I noticed, which is really strange, you think with the 6 days that everything would be sorted, everything would be figured out, everything would be like perfect, and that's just not the case. So anyhow, one of the things is I thought it was supposed to come with like some sort of special Heinzen cover or whatever. I'm probably saying that wrong, so roast me in the comments, but supposed to come with a special cover. This one did not. Not really sure if that's I don't know if that's actually supposed to be the right cover or whatever. I don't really care. Might end up getting a Recluse clutch later on. Clutch feels fine for now. I don't really have any issues with it. Obviously the bike's brand new, so I'm going to use this one before I get a new one for sure. But the weird thing is with the overheating that people are talking about in the trail rides, this right here, I don't even have to take it off. I'll leave it on for you guys. There's no point in taking it off. It's a 1.8 bar cap. So you can see that, 1.8. So if you look up in the manual for the 6 days, for the factory, they recommend a 2.0 bar cap. Isn't that weird? So they're going to give you a 1.8, but tell you to run a 2 bar. So I think that's really strange. Maybe the guy at the shop that day that was putting this bike together just said, screw it, we're out of 2-bars, here's a 1.8. I have no idea. But anyhow, I ordered a 2-bar from Tusk. It also has the, I guess, temperature reading up top. So that'll be nice to have. So you can look down on the side of the trail and say, okay, my temperature is X. You know what I mean? So that way you know. So that's one thing that I hear that you can do is obviously upgrade to the 2-bar, put a temp thing in there, so that way you know where you're at. The next thing I want to talk about is this guy right here. So I have not experienced any overheating. I don't even know what the temperatures are because obviously I have nothing to tell me. But I hear that this thermostat is this guy right here, that thing that has all these tubes going to it. I hear the thermostat is the problem. I don't know if it is or not. I haven't experienced it. But for peace of mind, for long trail ridings, I ended up going with the Tusk radiator kit, which deletes the thermostat. And I went with the Samco originally, and then I saw the Tusk was literally the same exact thing. And the Tusk one was like $45. The Samco one was like $240. Now, I did opt in for the Samco radiator hose clamps because they don't dig into the hoses and cause leaks. So I do think their hose clamps are worthwhile. You might be able to find some cheaper, but just my opinion, put nice stuff on your bike. You don't want to have a problem at the trail. The next thing I noticed for 2023, the KTMs, they do not start easy. What I end up doing is I flick the switch to the on position. I hit it once and then I kind of like let it go. That kicks the fuel pump on. And then if you hit it again, if it's cold like it is here, got to make sure that yellow thing is up. When it's in the down position, you're not choking it. So when it's in the up position, you're choking it. So again, we'll hit it one time and then I'll hit it again and it fires right up. So that I had to learn on my own because otherwise I was just cranking it and then it would kill that stock battery. That stock battery is absolute trash. Probably one of the worst decisions that they made. If you have your stock battery in this thing, throw it away. It's garbage. It's 4 amp hours. It's going to last about 1.5 to 4 starts depending on how cold it is. It might start your bike if it's warm, but I ended up going with a 14-hour amp battery. They're not that expensive, maybe like $100 or so. It seems stupid that you would have to buy something like that for a brand new bike. That just seems very stupid to me. But the other one was absolute trash. I mean, I would start it and it would die. I would start it and it would die. And the battery would be the thing. The battery would die. And then I couldn't start the bike anymore. And that was super frustrating because you don't want to get towed home because you don't have a Kickstarter and your battery is not powerful enough to start your bike. It's mind-boggling, really. I don't know. These handguards, I think, are pretty much junk. I'm going to be honest. They're bolted in with one bolt right here. And then I put a zip tie around mine because I think they forgot to from the dealership or from the factory. I don't know who's supposed to put the zip tie there, but that kind of keeps it in place. But if you smack something hard with this, you're going to break it off for sure. I'm not a huge fan of wraparound handguards. I really hate the fact that my bars, or I guess my throttle, will get dirt and stuck in it. So that really upsets me. So I probably will run these for a while and then find something else that I like that is way more sturdy, but probably still not full wraparound. Other little things I did, I changed the gas tank cap. This is just a bling piece. Changed the steering stem cap, another bling piece. I added support here around the dash. That's also another bling piece. I put the 6 days cover plates on there for your front brake and for your clutch master. So those just, again, bling pieces. They look nice. There's nothing wrong with the stock ones. They look nice. So what else can I tell you about? I really think that these 6 days, I mean, if you're going to do hard enduro, you're going to beat the crap out of it. And you really do need some sort of disc brake guard. I added this one, did not come factory. I think this is a nice CNC. It was a real cheapo, maybe like $15 straight from China, something like that. Changed the rear nut, another bling piece, nothing crazy. Changed some things up here, another bling piece, nothing crazy. Put a tire pressure sensor on it. I run tire pressure sensors on all of my toys. It's just nice to know what your tire pressures are. I've never had an issue running one, so I think it's a fun thing to add, and it's nice to know, but you definitely don't need it. I hear that these tabs like to break off right here and here, so I added this 6 days bling piece. It looks nice, and hopefully it keeps everything in place because I don't want to break those tabs off. Let's see, what else can we say about this bike? It runs and drives really good. I mean, really good. No issues there. Plenty of power in stock form, although from what I hear, our United States EPA really detunes the crap out of these things. And so for that reason, a lot of people end up buying an ECU. If you're in Europe, you probably don't need to do this. But if you're here in the States, a lot of people buy an ECU. And then when you do the ECU, you really need to take this exhaust cap, end cap off, because that's the restriction here. There's a little restriction up here and a little restriction at the intake, or I guess the exhaust exit, whatever you want to call that. So I'm probably going to end up replacing all those things, which again sucks because it's like you buy a brand new bike, you don't want to do any of that stuff, and here you are replacing part after part after part, spending more money on the bike than you thought you would. So it is what it is, but you just want to make it nice so you can ride the dang thing. So yeah, people replace the stock end cap. Sometimes they replace the whole exhaust, which is a cooler, more expensive option. I'm probably just going to keep this thing. I don't really mind it. It's kind of cool. It says 6 days, KTM. So just take out these screws, replace your end cap. When you do that, you have to get an ECU. So this is your ECU right here. There's your little plug for it. Anyhow, you have to get the new ECU. You can't leave the stock ECU in here. And the reason why is because this oxygen sensor right here is telling the bike, hey, this is what our fuel ratio is at. So in open loop, is it closed loop? No, in open loop, it runs pretty good. As soon as you get into closed loop, the air fuel ratio is like in the 14s. So if you know anything about air fuel ratio, that's a little lean. You really want it to be in the 13s, maybe even a little less. So all of the ECUs that you can get aftermarket, there's like Git, Vortex, there's some other Boondocker ECUs, and I think there's a Power Commander, and there's all sorts of things you can get. So when you do that, that fixes the fueling issue, and then you can also have different maps for different conditions and all that fun stuff, which is cool. But it's like, Git ECU is like $1,000. The Vortex is maybe like $800. So it's like you're going to spend money here, and then you're going to buy an end cap, and you might replace the intake manifold for, I don't even know what you call that. Not the intake manifold, but the exhaust exit manifold, whatever. So you might replace that. And then while you're doing that, you have reeds. So this isn't a 2-stroke, so don't get me wrong. This is a 4-stroke, but it has reeds. So people who are used to 2-strokes are like, oh yeah, I know what a reed is. So right inside of here, I'm not going to take my air filter out. I did put this on. This does not come with a little twin air cover. I run these on all my cars, all my bikes, everything that I can, just because you don't want to have shit get sucked up in there and then either one going into your motor, which it shouldn't if you have your filter properly oiled, but you really just don't want anything going in there. So this is the best way to do that, in my opinion. I did replace the shift lever, another bling piece, carbon fiber, looks nice, feels nice. But so there's reeds in your intake. Sorry, I got on a tangent there. And those reeds inside of your intake basically prevent air from flowing as fast as it possibly can. Now, what I hear from all the United States guys, and that's where we're at in the United States, is that if you take the reeds out when you do the ECU and you do the exhaust end cap, that you really, you suffer down low, but up high it's fine. So if you're interested in suffering down low, but up high you're fine, leave the reeds in there. But if you don't want to do that, either take them out. But when you take them out, if you take them out, that's when you suffer. So a lot of people end up going to the Euro boot for the EXC-F 500. I think the XCW for the United States might also have the same boot. I'm really not too sure, so do your own research. But I'm probably going to go to they make this other, I don't know, like stainless steel tube, right, that goes through there to the intake for your, not your carburetor, but your fuel injection. So anyhow, so I'm probably going to end up going to that. I don't know if it's necessary, but I think it's probably well worth it if you're going to spend the money on this bike and you want to do it. What else can we talk about while we're here? Oh, this guy is kind of ridiculous. So this is your fuel filter right here. This is just a piece of plastic, right? Piece of plastic. So when you fall over on the trail and you hit a rock, and that rock happens to hit right here, what do you think is going to happen to this piece of plastic? It's probably just going to break off. I mean, it seems ridiculous that they put that on there like that. I do have another one here. It's right here. I guess this is a bling piece, but I would say that this is more mandatory. So it does say 6 days on it somewhere right there. So this is a replacement. So that'll go, like so in there to this. And then I think I'm going to replace this fuel filter at the same time. I hear that this is a restriction. I think once you do both of those things, you're in pretty good shape to have a pretty good fueling system. I do hear that these pumps like to go out. I run like a ½ ounce to an ounce of Marvel's mystery oil in the tank when I fill it up when I can. Obviously, you can't do it all the time, but when you can, or I'm in the garage, I'll throw some of that in there. It just like lubricates that fuel pump. So as it's going down through there, it just kind of keeps your bike, running a little bit better, keeping that fuel pump lubricated. Otherwise, there's zero lubricant for that fuel pump, and it's just gasoline. So I think there's no wonder why people have, problems with their fuel pumps. Another thing from the factory is they give you some terribly ugly mirrors. I mean, just god awful. So they're like up here, and they look gross, to be honest with you. So I opted in for this Tusk mirror. Not happy with it at all, but it was like $15. So you know what? It does the job, keeps me legal. When I'm riding, I can leave it there, or here or whatever, to see traffic. And when I'm on the trail, I can just kind of throw it up there so I can look at myself, I suppose. Not really happy with this, but for how cheap it was to keep it street legal, that's why I got it. That is about it, I think, on this bike that I really have to comment on. It is a wonderful bike. I know I just said a bunch of terrible things about it, but I think the bike is really awesome. I'm enjoying it so far, and I've had a lot of fun on it on the street. I did a little bit of dirt, but not much. Mostly on the street. Had a lot of fun doing that. And I think it's going to be exciting and interesting, but I'll keep you guys posted on my journey as we go through this, changing out parts and pieces and bits and stuff all over the place to make it, what we want, and get it out on the trail, because that is what it's about, getting out on the trail and having a good time. Hey guys, still in the garage here with KTM. Nothing's changed on it. I just wanted to wrap up this video saying that I forgot to talk about one thing, and that was the flame out. Personally, I've not experienced it at all whatsoever. I think they did fix it for the upper years of the KTM EXC-F 500. So this is again a 2023, so I believe that's fixed. I'm really not sure. Obviously, if you do an ECU and the end cap and the intake and all that other fun stuff, you're going to fix that issue for sure. But I haven't had any experience with that at all. I do think that if you don't let the bike warm up, you probably will experience that, especially if you just blimp the throttle and let it go really fast. I think you'll definitely experience it. But other than that, the bike is awesome. I really do love it. I'm excited to ride it. I'm excited for the season. Excited to put some miles on it. Hopefully going to bring you guys along for this. I don't see why not. Put you guys on the GoPro, and maybe we can do some rides together, and just have a good time with it, because that's why I'm building it. That's what it's about. It's having a good time. Excited to get it out there on the trail. We have some really cool enduro events planned this year. A lot of trail rides planned this year. So looking forward to getting it out there and seeing how well it performs, and maybe making some changes to make it perform even better. I'm going to try to keep it as light as possible. I am adding some weight to it by adding, in my opinion, necessary features, but just going to try to keep it as light as possible, but also as safe as possible and secure as possible, not only for me, but for the bike, because I don't really want to damage parts, because then you got to replace them. That takes away time from riding. So if you can prevent that in the future, I always recommend doing those things. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys this year.